I think we'll start by just asking you tomorrow night, the big State of the Union address. Can you give us a preview of sorts of what the president will be talking about tomorrow night?
Absolutely, Joanne. The president looks forward to speaking to the American people from Congress tomorrow night to give his State of the Union address. He will lay out a vision of the future that involves building an American economy that's built to last, that rewards hard work and responsibility, that makes sure everyone plays by the same rules and reaps the rewards of this great country in a way that's fair. He'll focus on American manufacturing as well as American domestic energy production, the need to develop skills for American workers, and American values and the importance of making sure that our values are reflected in the policies we pursue. So this is an opportunity for the president to talk about not just the State of the Union as it exists today, the fact that we've turned the corner and are pulling ourselves out of the worst recession since the Great Depression. We're creating jobs and growing, but that we still have a long way to go. We need to take decisive action to make sure the economy continues to grow, to make sure that jobs are being created in the United States and not overseas, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to develop energy sources here at home so that we're less dependent on foreign energy sources. That's what he'll do tomorrow night, and it's a great opportunity. He's looking forward to it.
You know, you talked about manufacturing. You know, certainly with us being in Detroit here, that automobile manufacturing is critical to the success of Michigan and really to the country. Is there anything in particular that the president will talk about when it comes to Detroit, the auto industry, or manufacturing here in the state of Michigan?
Well, I think you can expect that the president will note the fact that there was a big decision that had to be made soon after he took office, and that was whether or not to let the American automobile industry essentially die as we know it, or whether to ask the American people to help the American automobile industry be saved. And in return for his decision to help save that industry, the major companies, GM and Chrysler, reformed themselves, and as you know, GM is now top of the market again, the biggest car company in the world. And American car companies are making a profit and hiring and creating jobs here in this country again, and creating terrific products that are more than competitive around the world. So that's a story that needs to be told, and it's a story that this president wants to be replicated around the country. There's something of a renaissance happening with manufacturing in this country, where we're seeing a lot of jobs being created in the manufacturing sector, and he wants to do everything he can as president, working with Congress and working around Congress to ensure that manufacturing jobs are created here in this country so that we build an America that's with an economy that's built to last.
You know, very often, Jay, after a speech like this, the president hits the road, right? Very often to kind of forward his ideas in the plans and initiatives that he talks about in the State of the Union. The president is coming here to Michigan on Thursday and Friday. I think the first question is, why Michigan so soon after the State of the Union?
Well, I think you'll hear him talk in all of his visits in the wake of the State of the Union. He'll be visiting, I think, 5 states in total about these 4 pillars that are the foundation of the State of the Union address and the foundation of this economy built to last, and that's manufacturing, energy, skills, American skills, and values. And when he's in Michigan, I think one of the things he will talk about is the automobile industry and how the kind of advanced manufacturing that's part of the automobile industry and some of the advanced manufacturing that's happening elsewhere in the Detroit area and Michigan in general is absolutely the sort of development that we need to pursue and grow and strengthen in this country to make sure that we have the kinds of jobs that we want to have and that we're not exporting them overseas. He had an event just a couple of weeks ago here at the White House, a forum with CEOs from different companies, from different industries, American CEOs who have brought jobs back from overseas. They've been insourcing jobs instead of outsourcing them. That's a great development because it demonstrates the fact that on balance, because of the competitiveness and productiveness of American workers, it's often more cost effective and smarter for American businesses to locate their factories here in the United States than it is to outsource them to China and elsewhere. That's a great development that this president wants to continue to develop.
And Jay, we got confirmation today that he's delivering remarks at the University of Michigan. Any insight into why U of M, why that was chosen?
Well, besides the fact that it's a great school, and you know, I don't want to preview too much the details of that specific speech. I can promise you it'll be focused on the 4 pillars that I talked about: manufacturing and skills and energy and values. But I'll let the President unveil the new initiatives and the details when he gets there.
All right. One other question for you. You know, this is an election year, no secret, and so often in election years, I think that it's tough to get anything done because you've got both parties on both sides not wanting to give the other party too much credit or whatnot. Talk to me about how realistic the President is about the challenges he faces going forward with his initiatives in this election year.
Well, Joanne, there's no question that we live in a partisan town here in Washington, in a partisan atmosphere, and that this is now an election year. We're not naive about that. But the fact is that while a lot of people talk about, oh, you can't get anything done in an election year, history proves otherwise. Just, I think 1996 is a great example of a year when an incumbent president of one party was running for re-election. Congress was controlled by another party, and they passed some major bills that year, including welfare reform, a balanced budget, and other initiatives that were very important, some health care reform as well. The reason why Congress will act and do things in a bipartisan way is because they'll decide that it's in their interest to do that, to work with this president. If Republicans decide that it's in their interest politically as well as in the country's interest to chalk up some wins for the American people before they face election in November, then I think we'll get some things done. And we're hopeful that that can happen because in the end, everyone, not just the president who's up for election in November, but every member of the House of Representatives and a third of the Senate has to explain to his or her constituents whether they got things done, tried to move the ball forward for the economy, or they just obstructed the president's agenda and blocked everything. I think you've probably seen the polling that suggests this is the most unpopular Congress in history. They probably want to change that, and one way to change it is to actually work together with the president, work in a bipartisan way, do things to help the economy.
All right, we have about 15 seconds left. Did you know the president could sing as well as he sings?
Well, I confess that I heard him humming that tune before he went out on stage at the Apollo Theater. You know, Al Green had just performed at that event before we got there, and he was sad that he had missed that performance and had an Al Green song in his head. And he was just inspired to go out there and sing a couple of lines from that great song. So, but it is a good thing, I can say as a press secretary, that the president can carry a tune.
Yeah, yes, he can. We'll see if he can carry an election this fall, right? Jay Carney from Washington, D.C., thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks, Joanne.
All right.